Is any member seeking the call? Honourable Trevor Mallard.
I'm just sort of flabbergasted by the lack of cooperation from the government, who is looking for cooperation from the opposition. I'd like to ask the Minister a few questions around the regulation-making powers that sit within this bill, and ask him whether he makes them himself, whether there's a requirement to take them to Cabinet, and whether he has any discretion in this matter. Are they the sort of regulations, Mr. Chairman, where he just rubber stamps the recommendations of the department? And if that's the point, then there's no point in having the Minister involved in making the regulations, because we know with this Minister, in recent years at least, there's been no sign of a mind of his own. There's no sign of being able to make an independent decision, to take the interests of the country to heart and to do what is important for the country. And I just want the Minister to get on his hind feet at some stage and indicate to the House whether in fact these give him any discretion or not, or whether he is just the lapdog and the puppet of the department which is concerned.
Point of order. Point of order.
Mr. Chairman.
Point of order.
The member in question raised a point of order when I referred to Geppetto some years ago. I don't think it's appropriate to call anyone a lapdog or a puppet in the House.
Speaking of the point of order, I think in that particular case we were talking more about the family of Pinocchio and calling someone a liar. I'm certainly not calling the Minister a liar.
Yeah, I think the member's just sort of inside the scope of what's acceptable. Just. Honourable Trevor Mallard.
As my colleague, my kind colleague, the attorney's cousin has pointed out, there's a question about whether he could make independent decisions or whether he has to have the intellectual giant Jonathan Coleman to assist him in making this sort of decision as to whether to make recommendations for this sort of regulation, because between them, frankly, I've got more faith in Maurice Williamson. If he was doing it alone, I think, no, I shouldn't have more faith. He has no faith in himself. Well, he agrees with the High Court. He agrees with the High Court. They've got no faith in him either to make any sort of recommendation or any sort of decision according to the law. Mr. Chairman, there's a couple of other points. I do want to acknowledge, though, in this question of information sharing and computing generally, I want to acknowledge that this Minister, at least in the past, and I think Peter Dunn will remember, my colleague Annette King will probably remember, probably no one else in the chamber will remember, that this was the Minister who stood up against Jim Bolger in opposing the INSIS. And I just want to say whether the courage and style that he had then is something that he's prepared to carry through and to tell John Key now. Because he was very good at that time in saying what could be done and what couldn't be done. And I'd be very interested to hear whether the courage that the member has shown in the past is continuing through to his contributions as part... No, it's not. No, it's not. He's been beaten up by the High Court. He shakes his head and he says that I had a chance of convincing Jim Bolger. I failed, but I've got no chance of convincing John Key what is the right thing to do as far as ICT is concerned. Mr. Chairman, turning to the more specific parts of the bill now, I'd like to ask the Minister, what is the difference between a dog used for customs purposes and a customs dog? What is the difference between a dog used for customs purposes and a customs dog? No, it's nothing to do with the pedigree. There's no doubt that if this Minister's involved, it's a mongrel, Mr. Chairman. But sir, the official, we are being asked to change the law to change the term from a dog used by customs to a customs dog, and I want to know what the difference is. Why are we doing this? Why is it so important? Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to ask him to help explain to the House the interplay between the clause 13 of the bill it's all in clause 13 between the new sections 128 and 128B when it goes to definitions of materially incorrect and the calculation of amount of penalty. And I note, Mr. Chairman, that it appears that any error in relation to the following matters, or omission. So if, for example, a full stop is left out of the overseas supplier's identity, Mr. Chairman,
Honourable Trevor Mallard.
or if a tariff item number is one digit out, or the zero or the decimal point is in the wrong place, that catches it, or if there's a currency conversion error, that catches it as being materially incorrect. And as a result of that, that means that there is an obligation under 128B around the calculation of penalty. Now, I accept for vast majority of these goods, of course, there aren't any tariffs, and therefore there are unlikely to be any penalties under 128B 2B or in this particular case it's actually 1283B where there's a dollar amount. But notwithstanding that, under 128B3A there is a $200 penalty for any material error. And unfortunately, material error is defined so widely that the misapplication of a full stop, well, it actually says for an entry under section 39, that entry contains an error or omission in relation to any of the following matters. Now, it doesn't mean that you get it completely wrong. It doesn't mean that you put something which is false down. That is where it's where the error or omission is made knowingly, not that anyone would knowingly leave out a full stop, then clearly that's caught under 128B3. I don't think there's any suggestion of that, but under 2 or 3 of B or under A, it appears, which is materially incorrect, it appears that material, in the normal sense, where it actually makes a difference, and in particular where something is deliberate, although in this case, of course, there are areas of gross carelessness or did not take reasonable care. Now, I think it's fair to say that, missing out a full stop or a dot in an email address, that probably could come into the category of not taking reasonable care. I'm not sure, and I just want to make sure that we're not catching here more than it is the intention of the government and the House to catch. So, Mr. Chairman, I think in summary, I'm seeking some assurances from the Minister around the width of the materially incorrect and how that interplays with the penalty clauses. I'd like him to make some comments about dogs and the effect of the change in the law here, and also, Mr. Chairman, I'd like some sort of assurance from him that his previous good work in ensuring the integrity of the government's ICT system will continue.
Chris Farfoy.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to have a second contribution to this bill. Mr. Chair, I'd just like to start this